divorce. The lawful integration of public schools was in its infancy stage. Black families were cautiously moving into white neighborhoods. And I fell in love with a young man who was African American. I fell in love with a young man who was the wrong color. I innocently gave myself to him and became pregnant before everyone else thought that I should. I dared to stand my ground, insisting on giving my child the gift of life rather than to seek an abortion. As the saga played out, those were the last real choices I was allowed to make. In the end, I did the right thing. Everybody said so. My parents, my social worker, the birth father, the ladies at the home for unwed mothers, but it didn't feel right to me. It felt unfair, unreasonable, unnecessary. Childless, I left the home, where I served the 5-month sentence of my pregnancy. When I began writing this book over 4 years ago, I thought I would simply draft my story. I didn't expect that in doing so, I would finally learn how to navigate the profound grief associated with the loss of my first child, while simultaneously experiencing the joy of mothering the 2 that I raised. I wanted to tell this story for my children and for my grandchildren. I wanted to tell this tale of love and loss for myself. Now in my 7th decade of life, good God, I understand that we make choices and we live out the consequences of them. I also understand that we live through the consequences of the choices that other people make for us. I was confused, I was afraid, I was lonely and ashamed, and I was choiceless. Hence the title of the book. I was in the Midwest, and my brother was mayor of our city, and it was not acceptable for me to be, number one, cavorting with someone outside of my race, let alone bringing a child into the world as an unmarried teenager. I was 17 years old. I had just graduated from high school, and I thought I would get married. The father thought I wouldn't. And I was working full time, and I had a job at a local business, and they talked to me about who they saw me keeping company with on my lunch hours. I can't imagine that happening today, and that's part of the reason I wrote this story, is this time in history, this time. When I talk about my life and this part of my life to people, they're incredulous. They're like, wait a minute, what? That was a big deal, and you went where? And then what happened? I mean, people can't relate. Young people today are not able to relate.